of our country. We have a short break, and inshallah, we will be right back.
Earth, the human heart, greed, exploitation, hatred, all diseases of the heart. For the cure, join Huda TV every Sunday at 20 GMT for Moments for the Heart.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and welcome back. Just before the break, we talked about how Ja'far ibn Abi Talib presented Islam in the shortest and most concise way that anyone could do. And this is our role as Muslims. Whenever you're requested to talk about Islam, what do you usually do? This is the role model how we should present Islam. What is Islam? Not to associate any other with Allah Azza wa Jal. To do good things, to stay away from bad things. End of story. No one in his sound mind can come and say, well, I don't like Islam. All in all. Because whatever Islam calls for is on the top list of virtues. And whatever Islam forbids, it's also in the list of vice. And this is the beauty of Islam, that it appeals to people's nature, and no one rejects Islam because of what it is. Maybe they reject Islam because of the actions of Muslims. But when the Muslims' actions are in line with the Quran and Sunnah, then his da'wah, his message is easily accepted by others. Ja'far ibn Abi Talib told him that this is what the Prophet ﷺ requested us to do. And when our people did not allow us to worship Allah Azza wa Jal in freedom, and they started torturing us, abusing us, humiliating us, then we had no other choice but to leave the country and go to a country where we are sure that the authorities will allow us to do so. And we heard about your country, O King, and we came to worship Allah Azza wa Jal here. So the Najashi, the king, told them and asked them, do you have something that you can recite to me, that book or revelation that you claim your prophet has brought you? So Ja'far ibn Abi Talib read to him the very beginning of Surah Maryam. And in Islam, we have a whole chapter that is called after Mary the Virgin. And when he recited these verses that talked about Zechariah, the father of John the Baptist, and how he was so old when he was blessed by Allah Azza wa Jal and given this son, John the Baptist, and it goes on to talk about him taking care of Mary the Virgin and supporting her while she was worshipping Allah Azza wa Jal alone, because her mother, the daughter of Imran, the wife of Imran, made an oath and vowed that if she's pregnant, whenever she delivers, then this baby will be devoted only for the worship of Allah Azza wa Jal. And the story goes on to talk to us about her pregnancy, the miraculous pregnancy without a father, and that the birth of Jesus Christ, may peace and blessing be upon him.
Yeah, I think it's very intelligent from Gafar to recite verses from Surah Maryam.
Yeah, that's very true, because he chose the verses that are related to the Christians. Yeah. And you can tell, you can sense that An-Najashi was a committed Christian. and that he loved Allah Azza wa Jal. And he surrounded himself with people of religion, clergymen and priests. And this is the religious aspect of ruling. Because even Muslim rulers should surround themselves with Muslim scholars and people of knowledge to guide them what is acceptable in Islam and what is not. And the rulers, if they do not surround themselves with Muslim scholars, then they will go astray. They will do whatever the superpowers ask them to do without knowing if this goes along with the Quran and Sunnah or not. And without the support of Allah Azza wa Jal, we have no one to support us, because it is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that brings all the benefit and prevents all the harm. La ilaha illahu.
I want to ask a question. Why the pagans choose Amr ibn As and Abdullah ibn Abi Rabi'ah?
Definitely, when you send someone to execute a mission, you have to pick the best one for that mission. Amr ibn al-As was known to be one of the smartest Arabs at the time. He used to be called the Dahiya of the Arab, because he was so intelligent and he knew how to plot and make strategies and execute them. And that is why, and he was very articulate. And that is why, once you hear his presentation in front of the king, to me, I was convinced. If I were the king, I would have sent them away, because it was very convincing. They are from our people. They've left the religion of their ancestors and made up a new religion. And we know them more than you do. And all what we want is for you to send them with us. And I was sent not by the lower level of people. I was sent by the dignitaries of Mecca, of Quraysh. So I come with power. So this kind of presentation shows you his intellectual powers. And that is why they chose him to go and bring these people.
Shaykh, migration in Islam, as we know, that is leaving a non-Muslim country or going to a Muslim country where you can apply the rules and the pillars of Islam. So the Muslims went to Abyssinia or to Habasha, and that was a non-Muslim country.
Mm-hmm.
And why they exactly choose this country?
Okay, that's a very good question. Migration originally is not to go to a Muslim country. Migration is performed to enable you to worship Allah Azza wa Jal freely. So even if you live in a Muslim country where you are oppressed, tortured, and prosecuted just because you are a Muslim or practicing Islam, then it is a must that you migrate to go somewhere where you can practice Islam, even if that somewhere were to be a non-Muslim country, as the case nowadays, unfortunately, with the Muslims drifting away from Islam. So at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, there were no Muslim countries. The Prophet ﷺ gave us the justification. He told the companions, once he told them and instructed them to go to Abyssinia, he told them that the reason behind that is that the ruler of Abyssinia is a fair and just king. People would not be done wrong to in his presence. And that is why they went. And it was manifested here clearly that was the case. So once the king heard from Ja'far ibn Abi Talib, and Ja'far started reciting the few verses of Surah Maryam, the Virgin Mary, the king started to cry. And all the priests and clergymen also started to cry, because they were touched by this beautiful story, by this beautiful chapter of the Quran. And then the king said, you may go and worship Allah as you please. I will not allow them to take you to your country. And everyone went back to their quarters. Abdullah ibn Abi Rabi'ah and Amr ibn al-As were furious because they failed their mission. Amr ibn al-As, who was one of the most intelligent Arabs at the time said, tomorrow I'm going to do something that will annihilate them from this country. And Abdullah was a little bit softer person and told him, come on, they are our cousins and brothers, don't do something that is bad for them. But Amr ibn al-As was determined. The following morning, he went to the king and told him that, okay, you gave them permission to stay, but I just wanted to inform you that they say something really bad about Jesus Christ. And of course, as a Christian, well, unfortunately, nowadays it's a different story. In the old days, the real Christians would not allow anyone to say anything that is bad about Jesus Christ. Peace and blessing be upon him. As Muslims, this is completely forbidden for a Muslim to say anything that is negative about Jesus Christ, Moses, Abraham, Noah, any messenger or prophet of Allah Azza wa Jal. And that was the case at the time of the king of Abyssinia, An-Najashi. Nowadays, it's completely different. You can have people insulting Jesus Christ, or making bad drawings, or even cursing him. You have people impersonating him in movies, in comic books and so on, and everybody is normal with this. And this is not acceptable in Islam. And it was not acceptable at the time of the Abyssinian king. So once he heard this, he asked for the Muslims to come again in front of him. And then they felt that there is trouble in the horizon. So they started asking each other, what are we going to say? Ja'far said, it's very easy. This is our religion. We cannot lie about this. We have to say exactly what we are told to say. So the king asked Ja'far, what do you say about Jesus Christ? May peace and blessing be upon him. So he told him, we only say what Allah Azza wa Jal has told us, that he is the messenger of Allah, he is the servant of Allah, and he is a spirit from Allah Azza wa Jal, given to the Virgin Mary, miraculously giving birth to Jesus Christ. Peace and blessing be upon him. And Najashi was a very wise king. And he himself was a monotheist. He believed in the oneness of Allah. So he looked down and said, this is exactly what the Bible said about him. The clergyman, the priest, all started to tremble and said, oh, making noise. And he told them, don't make whatever you want. Make whatever noise you want. This is the truth that is in the Bible. And he told the Muslims that, go and worship Allah Azza wa Jal in my country. You are the safe ones. No one will dare come and stop in your face. And whoever dares attack you, then he is attacking me. As for you, Amr ibn al-As and Abdullah ibn Rabi'ah, take your gifts. I don't need them. And go back to your country. I will never accept bribe from people when Allah Azza wa Jal did not accept the bribe from me. And this has another story, and inshallah we may get to know this story when we meet again. And until then, fi amanillah, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Mm-hmm.